Так. Ёпта. Так, ну, 80-е я люблю, но небольшой любитель ВВЕ 80-х. Даже вот так вот смотри, вот что приходит в голову, когда вот говорят, вот какие пиздатые матчи ВВЕ были в 80-х. Ну, Steamboat Savage, понятно. Savage Тита Сантана. Warrior Хоган. Warrior Хоган, да. С кем был матч?
Я вернулся.
С кем был матч крутой у этого? У Слотера с кем-то был. У Слотера и Арен Шейха. Буткэмп был хороший матч еще. Да, наверное, бля, больше что-то ни хера я не помню. Прямо с кайфиков, сильных кайфиков. Поэтому в том числе будет интересно посмотреть, потому что я не помню больше кайфиков.
Slap on some neon lycra, load up the VHS player, and have as much coke as you like, because we are
Промо Джо
back to the
помню, да.
80s,
Не
baby.
переживайте.
Or Pepsi, you know, if you don't have any coke. Back when WWE were going through a national expansion powered by Hulkamania and Coke, the other kind, the quality of the matches might have been secondary to the pomp and circumstance, but you could still find bangers from time to time. Don't believe me? Watch this. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best WWE matches of the
Давно Cultaholic не
1980s.
смотрел.
Join us. Number 10, Tito Santana.
Тит Сантана, Грег Валентайн. 84-й. Делал ли я этот матч? Скорее всего, да. Ну, просто видишь, в чем дело, короче. Типа, рестлинг 80-х, это ж, ну, не ВВЕ. ВВЕ 80-х чаще всего, ну, сомнительное зрелище. То есть, большая часть того, что будет в этом топе, скорее всего, оно, ну, сильно уступает тому, что в тех же 80-х можно увидеть в NWA или All Japan. Типа, в этом дело. То есть, за кайфиками надо идти не в ВВЕ туда.
Versus Greg Valentine in MSG. Greg Valentine may have always looked like your mum's middle-aged mate Janice, who smoked 2 packs a day and wore leather pants regardless of the weather, but the man could go when the bell rang. Not as hard as Janice, of course, but pretty damn hard nonetheless. The Hammer was a surly heel who didn't really do much besides methodically turn his opponents into hamburger meats, which made him the ideal dance partner for spirited, high-energy babyface Tito Santana. The two men had several standout matches against one another in 1984, but their choice encounter from the world's most famous arena on November 26th of that year gets the nod here. It started out as a brawl with Santana gaining the advantage before Valentine was able to take over and slow things down before the bloody and brilliant closing stretch that ends somewhat disappointingly in a draw due to them going over curfew. Regardless, they beat the hell out of each other the entire way in a match that was never less than compelling. A standout bout from a standout feud of the era, fueled by pure emotion, mostly hate in this case. Number 9, The Rockers versus the Brainbusters in MSG. It used to be so...
Вот это вроде как мы даже на стриме видели, кстати. Какой-то матч рокеров мы точно видели на стриме. Не, матчи рокеров крутые. Я уже говорил, что самый кайфик смотреть матчи рокеров в том, что в основном у них матчи были с всякими челами, ну, скажем так, поопытнее, постарее, чем они. И это прям, ну, стычка двух разных видов рестлинга. То есть старый рестлинг против того, который будет, ну, актуален не в 80-х, а в 90-х. Вот тут такой рестлинг показывали рокеры. И вот в таком контексте это смотрелось всегда прикольно.
Easy, didn't it? Just stick a couple of well-oiled, bone-bending baddies in there with 2 plucky, high-flying, blue-eyed goodies, give them 15 minutes to work their magic, sit back and enjoy the show. Any combination of Arn, Tully, Sean and Marty would have been gold, but the 4 of them rocking Madison Square Garden with a Southern-style tag team offering was simply divine. The Rockers shone early on, using their quickness and ingenuity to out-wrestle and outsmart the Brainbusters, throwing out some tasty arm drags, drop kicks and super kicks, before Anderson Anderson and Blanchard isolated Michaels by expertly cutting the ring in half. Blanchard and Anderson gave the Heartbreak Kid some hope spots while beating him down and bending the rules until Michaels was finally able to make the hot tag to Jannetty, who cleaned house prior to Double A cheating for the win. It's simple formula stuff really, but it's so well done and demonstrates textbook ring psychology amongst some exciting fast-paced action. Number 8, Randy Savage versus Bret Hart on Saturday night's main event.
Вот это я не смотрел. Saturday Night старые я видел только вот, когда закидывали на стримах. Вот этот мы, по идее, не видели.
After the Hart Foundation conspired with the Honky Tonk Man to beat down Randy Savage on the 12th installment of Saturday Night's main event, the Macho Man received an opportunity to gain a measure of revenge by taking on Bret Hart in a singles outing on the show's 13th edition. Savage, never one you could accuse of having an even temper at the best of times, was out for blood against the excellence of execution, with the two men opting to brawl rather than trade holds until Bret used a well-placed shot from Jimmy Hart's megaphone to momentarily take over. From there, Randy managed to kick out of a pile driver before injuring his leg after taking a big backdrop over the top rope to the floor. Like a pink and black shark who smelled chum in the water, Hart zoned in on it as Savage scrapped to survive, which he did just long enough to reverse a scoop slam into an inside cradle for the win. One of only 2 televised singles matches between 2 of the absolute GOATs, this is truly one to savor. Number 7, Sergeant Slaughter versus Pat Patterson in MSG. Any WWE...
Ну, слушай, если вставляем матчи Слоттера, то матч с Шейхом должен быть тогда где-то повыше. Потому что, ну, это, наверное, лучший матч вообще в карьере Слоттера.
We fan who only knows Sergeant Slaughter as that old bloke in camo who occasionally showed up to put a young talent over, or only ever saw Pat Patterson during his stooge phase, really ought to do themselves a favor and check out their street fight from MSG in May of '81. After several scrappy brawls had ended without a decisive winner, the two men were pitted against one another in WWE's spiritual home in a match where there would be no referee. They would simply have to battle it out until one man could battle no more, and what a battle it was. If you're after finesse, then you are looking in the wrong place, because Pat and Sarge just beat the tar out of each other with punches, kicks, chokes, and even their own clothing, with Slaughter using his belt and Patterson using his cowboy boot to inflict further damage. It was a high-drama situation and a suitably bloody blow-off that ended when Sarge's manager, the Grand Wizard, threw in the towel for his charge as the crowd went absolutely banana. Number 6, David Schultz and Roddy Piper versus Andre the Giant and Jimmy Snuka in MSG. The 1980s were a decade of big personalities in WWE, and they didn't get much bigger than Andre the Giant and Roddy Piper. Bringing back up in the form of Dr. D and the Superfly inside a molten MSG, Hot Rod and the 8th Wonder of the World tore the house down in a tag match in March of '84. The basic story of the match was Piper being scared to be in there with Andre, and who can blame him, opting instead to let Schultz take his lumps before they conspired to bust the Giant open, which got him stretchered out and left Snuka at a 2-on-1 disadvantage. The Garden came unglued when Snuka ran wild on the heels until he too was immobilized and attempted to make his own comeback before Andre, sporting a big bloody bandage, thundered back out and unleashed pure hell. If there is a criticism here, it's that it finishes with an ostensible count-out win for the babyfaces, only for it to be revealed that Piper and Schultz actually won via disqualification as Andre wasn't legal during his rampage. However, that's just the way things were done back then, and it doesn't take anything away from the sports entertainment spectacle that preceded it. Number 5, the Glamour Girls versus the Jumping Bomb Angels in MSG.
Блять, я уже далеко не в первый раз встречаю вот этот матч Glamour Girl против кого там? Ну вот этих, короче. Я его никогда не видел. Я уже далеко не первый раз его встречаю, и, бля, может, реально как-нибудь посмотреть его, может, это что-то стоящее на самом деле.
And single-handedly saved women's wrestling in WWE, it was rare to find a genuinely great match between the promotion's fighting females, who usually weren't afforded the opportunity to even try. And in an era dominated by the fabulous Moolah and not exactly renowned for work rate, 2 cutting-edge tag teams pulled out a banger that the likes of the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs would have been proud of. The Glamour Girls and Japan's Jumping Bomb Angels had been working around the country for several months and were ready to show the Garden just what they were capable of. The foursome didn't get much of a reaction coming out, but quickly won MSG over with their energy and effort, working a very exciting match that featured moves and sequences not really done by women in the US at that time. It wasn't perfect, and there were a couple of ropey moments
Несколько матчей тех лет смотрели, такое всегда ощущение было, не знаю, как правильно сказать, бои выглядят очень реалистично, вот веришь, что они дерутся до победы. Ну, недаром тогда не иронично люди верили в рестлинг. И кейфэб сохраняли, кейфэб был священен. Да, это был совсем другой рестлинг.
Moments here and there, but you overlook them and find yourself getting drawn into the story of the match as it goes along, leading to a frantic closing stretch. Truly a total show stealer. Thank you, Stephanie McMahon. Number 4, Randy Savage versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 5. The Mega Powers explode.
Ну, хуй знает. Ну, честно, хуй знает. Что-то я в этой теме не уверен. Что-то в этой теме я сомневаюсь. Опять же, учитывая, что тут формат топа, будет ли выше, например, матч Хогана и Warrior? Матч Хогана и Warrior, на мой взгляд, сильно качественнее. Будет ли выше матч Савиджа и Шейха? Савиджа и Тит Сантана? Блять.
Almost 2 years after forming their awesome alliance, Randy Savage and
матча,
Hulk Hogan clashed for the world title in the blockbuster main event of WrestleMania 5. The build had been spectacular, with the Dynamite angle where the Macho Man viciously turned on the Hulkster, rightfully so after terrible Terry lusted after Miss Elizabeth, it must be said, doing wonders to generate interest in the match, which made $1 gazillion on pay-per-view. As far as the bell-to-bell action, it was really good. Savage did his thing, Hogan did his, they worked well together, and though the Trump Plaza crowd could have been a little more enthused for such an epic encounter, Randy and Hulk delivered on the grandest stage. Savage simply worked his arse off, Hogan sold for him, and Liz's role at ringside provided added intrigue before the ref booted her out. The result, though, was never in doubt, as Hogan kicked out of a big flying elbow, hulked up, hit his usual, and regained the World Championship. The true highlight of a so-so show, it also ranks as one of the best matches of Hogan's prime, and another example of why Randy Savage was as revered as he was. Ooh yeah, dig it! Number 3, Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect in the Maple Leaf Gardens. Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect are quite rightly praised for producing 2 of WWE's best matches of the 90s at SummerSlam 91 and the 93 King of the Ring. But what some fans may not know is that they gave everyone a taste of what was to come with an absolute clinic in 89. They actually had several clinics around this time, including one in MSG a day after this, but this is the one we've gone for. Amazingly, this was only the 2 workhorses' second ever one-on-one meeting, with their first one coming the night before. Demonstrating enviable instant chemistry, Hennig and the Hitman pieced together an intriguing bout that resembled the proverbial game of human chess. The 2 men trading counters and the advantage as Perfect bumped all over Toronto for his opponent, who ably proved that he had what it took to be a standout single star. Going to a 20-minute time limit draw, Bret and Kurtz left people wanting to see more. Perfect, ever the heel, denied Hart's request for 5 more minutes and took a pasting after attempting a sneak attack, but thankfully we would see a lot more from this pair over the next few years. A true hidden gem that was excellently, nay, perfectly executed. Number 2, the Iron Sheik versus Sergeant Slaughter in
вот этот матч я тут все вспоминал. Вот это охуенная тема, вот это реально охуенный матч.
MSG. Oh yeah, Sarge was cooking during the 80s, maggots. Because this right here is top quality pro wrestling. And again, for fans who see the name of the Iron Sheik and think mental old bloke who said and did mental things, just know that he could bring it when he wanted to, and against Slaughter in the Garden in a boot camp match, he brought it and then some. Natural rivals, and in many ways the perfect feud for the time period, Sarge and Sheik blew their feud off in some style, putting on a crimson-coated, hate-filled fight that played out in front of an electric audience. If you want to see good technical wrestling, look somewhere else and maybe get a life while you're at it, because this is all about unbridled passion and intensity, with Sheik pulling off an all-timer of a blade job after Sarge springs a gusher himself as they just beat on each other in brutal fashion. The drama-filled ending is poetic too, as Slaughter used Sheik's own loaded boot to finally end the match and win the war. I mean, not literally, there was still a war going on, but it was a moral victory for the US of A. Number 1, Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat.
Это number 1 уже?
Да?
А где Savage и Тит Сантана? Чё, бля, нихуя?
At WrestleMania 3. Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant's titanic world title showdown may have drawn 93,000 to the Pontiac Silverdome.
Нет, уж это первое место, это, разумеется, Разумеется, лучший матч в 80-х. А может, блядь, в начале 90-х Сэвидж и Сантана-то были? Хер его знает, может, я что-то и перепутал, может, не в начале 90-х были. Что-то мне казалось в 80-х. Ну ладно.
But the Intercontinental Championship Classic between Savage and Steamboat stole the damn show. Most of their peers raised eyebrows at their decision, prompted entirely by Savage's obsessive perfectionism, to diligently script and rehearse every bit of the match ahead of time. However, the proof is in the pudding, and this was a Michelin-star chocolate souffle all the way. To be honest, any one of the matches between the Macho Man and the Dragon from this era could have made it onto our list, but this makes the cut for being not only arguably their very best effort, but for taking place on the grandest stage. The two men cut a blistering pace and had the masses in Michigan hooked every step of the way, piecing together an enthralling back and forth contest that contained far more near falls than your average WWE match from the time. It ended the right way too, with Steamboat countering a slam into an inside cradle to win his one and only
База, мега база.